I want to welcome everyone to our first fallback series lecture. For those of you, I can't imagine at this point, who don't know this, I'm Gloria Kondrup, and I'm the Executive Director of the Hoffmitz Milken Center for Typography, and also a professor in graphic design at ArtCenter College of Design. And I want to welcome my partner in crime and my co-host and moderator, Sean Adams, the chair of ArtCenter's graphic design graduate and undergraduate. Hello, Sean. Nice to see you
Gloria.
again this fall. I know, isn't it wonderful?
Background.
Thank you. This is the center, which of course, unfortunately, is not open yet.
You can't really
but we will be soon. I know, we miss it. And I want to say it's really, really wonderful to have Archie Boston as our first speaker. Sean, I'm going to turn it over to you to introduce our first fallback lecture guest. And I will see everyone at the end of the lecture. Archie, thank you again for doing this. We're so happy you're here.
Yeah, Archie, I can't believe you're doing this. This is so great. I mean, it's been so long I'm trying to like get you up here, and
I know
we could never get you all the way up to Pasadena, so we could at least do it this way. You know, Archie, I think I first met you when I think I came back to Los Angeles from New York in like the late '80s, and and you were like a legend. You know, I mean, you were sort of the you know, you had so many ripples in the community of like people that you taught and people you know had as faculty, and then just your work in the community. There wasn't anything you could do without someone saying, "Oh, did you talk to Archie about that? Oh, you should talk to Archie." Yeah, that was like that sort of constant. It was sort of like Lou Danziger and Archie, and that was about that was like talk to them and they've got it down. But I just, you know, your career has been so incredible, and I'm always amazed at, I mean, the fact that you were so dedicated as an educator for so long, 3 decades.
Absolutely.
You kept going, you know, and we all know it's a job of love. It's not, you know, it's something, it's a job.
Right. It sure is. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot.
I mean, there's so many people that are like, well, no, Archie taught me that, or Archie taught me that.
Right.
You know? But then, you know, just, I mean, I think back about, like Lou was telling me that, you know, back in the 60s and 70s that LA was such a ghost town that that, you know, everybody, all the designers hung out with each other all the time.
Right. We knew everything that went on. Right.
You knew everything.
Exactly.
They said one foreign movie would show up and they'd all be at the same movie, you know, watching.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we all went to the award shows too, and to see who won all the awards, and it was really exciting. I liked it a lot. I really miss it. But
well, I mean, you're one of the. I think the reason I honestly, and I think I told someone, one of my friends back east recently, you know, she said, "Why is it that you guys have such amazing educators on the West Coast, and especially in Los Angeles? We really have trouble getting people to teach, you know, either in New York or Boston." And, and I said, you know, it's because of people like Archie and Lou, who sort of have this ethos of like, you give back to the community. You're part of the community. You're not just, you know, doing your job.
You know, Lou was my mentor, and so was Marv Rubin and my older brother, Brad. But, you know, I enjoyed every minute of it. I really did.
Well, I'm thrilled you're here. I'm gonna turn it over to you and let you talk about your career, and we'll pop back on. And I know students will have a bunch of questions, but I couldn't be more thrilled.
Okay, well, thank you very much, and I'll get started right away. Okay. Thanks, Sean and Gloria, for inviting me. I made some notes, so I will refer to my notes. And thanks to Clifford for helping me out, even up to this point. I had a difficult time. But I also want to thank God for keeping me alive thus far during this pandemic. This is my logo, Archie Boston Graphic Design. But what happened is, a few years ago, I dropped the Archie Boston Graphic Design and just used the symbol. And the symbol worked very well for me. One of my students decided to change my logo, and they changed it to Archie Boston. It says a Black graphic designer, you know. And I knew that I'm a Black graphic designer, but, you know, my students played tricks on me like that during over the years. But here's a brief synopsis of what I will be showing. Several books I wrote and published, Advertising and design created while I was in the ad agency business for over 10 years. I will also show posters from Boston and Boston, where my brother and I work together. Then I have my website, which I took down a few years ago because I had sold out most of the stuff that I was trying to sell. And then my advice to students, and then my thoughts on design spirituality, and finally, my Black Lives Matter poster. You might think that that's a lot of work, but it will go by fast. And I know that less is more, but I decided to show more in less time because hopefully it will keep your attention. And I know how short your attention spans are. I dropped the name Archie Boston graphic design, and then I was born in Clewiston, Florida, and I was raised in St. Petersburg, Florida. This is my art exhibit, my first art exhibit when I was in the 10th grade. I had an exhibit, the picture on the right, the flowers are the flowers that won an honorable mention in the county fair. So I thought I was on my way to becoming a graphic designer. I graduated and went to Chouinard Art Institute, the same school that my brother went to. And after I graduated from Chouinard, I went to Hickson and Jorgensen, an advertising agency. But the first book I wrote was Flying the Buttermilk. Oh, my instructors at Chouinard were Lou Danziger, Marv Rubin, and my instructor at home was Brad, my older brother, who made me do every assignment over. The first book I wrote, Flying the Buttermilk, was designed during my first sabbatical, which was my third sabbatical, which was in 2003. I thought I really enjoyed the book, but then I kept thinking about this person who kept calling me names, you know, and he called me an irreverent designer. And I thought, what in the hell is that fool talking about? Irreverent designer. And then I looked it up. The word is showing a lack of respect for people or things that are generally taken seriously. You might believe that after you see my presentation, but I do take everything seriously. My sabbatical leave, The Flying the Buttermilk, was my first book. It was about my experience in advertising, design, and design education. Oh, I saw another fly the other day, but it wasn't in the buttermilk. It was in gray hair, but the milk was white. This is the cover to my book. It says, Flying the Buttermilk, Memoirs of an African-American in Advertising, Design, and Design Education. I don't know what to call myself now. I think I'm back to Black, so I can be either Black or African-American. These are a few spreads that I showed you just to see the layout of the book. I use a grid, which is justified left and right, and I enjoy just putting in like a symbol, chapter 1, instead of using the O-N-E, I used the letter 1. And that wasn't being used often back then, but I thought that was my favorite thing that I would like to do. The photo you see down below on the lower left is my brother Brad and I. We were talking about our work and where we went to school. Another spread showing our poster. We always screened it back. And chapter 2, TWO, the letter 2. And then I published another book. People were so excited about the Flying the Buttermilk. And my brother told me, you should talk about us growing up. So I decided to do another book on another sabbatical. And this book was called Little Call It Rascals in the Sunshine City. The Sunshine City is where I grew up, St. Petersburg, Florida. And the way some people were thinking, I was really a rascal. You know, I used to get in trouble all the time. I used to get spankings all the time. But my nephew told me when I was writing the book, he said, Uncle, why don't you include me in the book? I said, well, I can't include you in the book, but I can maybe do a bookmark with you on it. He said, will you use my buckwheat look? And I say, buckwheat? He said, yeah, look, I'll show you. So he showed me this. Nope, that's the Little Call It Rascals book. And this is my father, my little sister, and my baby brother. And that is the mansion we lived in the background. As you can see, my father was barefooted, but he had his coat and his hat on the chair. And here my nephew, I hope he will be happy because I included him in the presentation. And that is his buckwheat look. I also, this is a spread from the book. What I decided to do was use an initial cap in all cap letters and then go from there to caps in lowercase. Justified left and right. I wanted to use a rule behind the photo to make it stand out, and I showed the photo captions in the lower left-hand side. Another spread, this one, I think I was talking about a gentleman from Louisiana, and he was talking about he should come to visit every weekend, and when he came in the neighborhood, he would say, "Who dat said who dat when I said who dat?" And then the people in the neighborhood would say, "You that said who dat?" And that was kind of fun. I enjoyed those days. And then the third book, my Spanish teacher from high school saw my books and he said, "Archie, will you design me a book?" So I said, "Sure. Why don't you," I gave him the site of a online company that he could go to. And when he got his estimate, he said, "Archie, that's fine, but I'd rather give you the money." And I said, "Well, you know, I'm not up to it." He said, "But you can do it for me. I'm your high school Spanish teacher." And I said, "Well, I don't remember any Spanish. All I remember, we call you Senor Williams." And now, so I eventually designed the book. The typeface I used was Trajan. And his book was about growing up just like me. But he said, "No excuses. Find a way." I thought that was a nice statement, overcoming the odds. And he went on to become a principal, and he also was very outstanding in the community in St. Petersburg, Florida. My advertising agency years. I worked at 3 agencies. The first one was Hickson and Jorgensen. The second was Carson Roberts, and the third one was Bosford Ketchum, which is now Ketchum Advertising. So I spent 8.5 years in agencies, but I really felt strongly about design. It was like my first love, but I wanted to explore the agency business because I wanted to learn concept and how that worked. I worked at a drawing board. As you can see, we didn't have computers back there. And this is the media director pointing out things to me. And that's me with my afro and really enjoying every minute of it. When I worked in advertising as an art director, I was paid quite well, but I was so happy just to do good work and just to think that I'm getting paid to do something that I really love. Some of the ads I did, I sort of put in my little, you know, irreverent designer in, like abolish capital punishment. I asked Pentel to, I gave Pentel some pens, and Abe Gervin did an illustration, and they said, "Well, why are you showing a nude lady?" I said, "It's art." And it is art. So it was published, but that was published in Communication Art and all the trade magazines. I also was in a few ads. I told Pentel what to do with that pen, and they did it. It's sort of like a double entendre, but what I suggested to them was to come up with a chisel tip pen because they didn't have one. So I'm the inventor of their chisel tip pen. I also designed other packages, like the first one was a poison pen, the second one a bull pen for a salesman, and the third one was a bobby pin. The bobby pin was for a policeman. I wanted to say pig pen, but I don't think that would work out. And then I also asked Don Weller I came up with the concept and asked Don Weller to illustrate it. And this was one of my favorite packages. And the other one that I liked was the Excalibur, which was a sword in a stone. I had it made, and then it was on a display counter. And when you put it, and when the person came to want to see the display, the salesperson would pull it out of the stone, which is based on Excalibur, the story. Now, posters, I've designed many posters over the years. I'm just only showing you a few. Some of them are very controversial, even as of today, like they were back then, but I think they are more controversial now because I get hate mail and all kind of crazy stuff today, but back then it was just, you know, the work is nice. Our logo is Boston and Boston. When I worked with Brad, we worked for 2 years, and our typeface is a typeface that is called Jim Crow. So any graphic designer would know that Jim Crow is the face that we use. And it was like our little dig. We love to do stuff like that. The image you're seeing now is the one of Brad and I at our Newport, and David at our Newport Beach office. We started out, Mark Rubin rented a space in his office, and we worked out of that house for about 1.5 years. And then after a while, I got tired of design, but we created some very memorable posters that are very, that people talk to me about it today. And they are very controversial today. My brother David, we wanted him to work with us, but he decided that he wanted to move on. So he did some client contact, but other than that, he moved on to, and he was in broadcasting. And we got a chance to work together on a documentary a few years ago on the Black pioneers of the Sunshine City, which I have a poster to show. So I moved into film, and then I'm back into retirement. I think I missed one. This poster was very provocative, but what we were trying to show is a really strong image. And I had a philosophy, I still have that philosophy of design. Let me look for it. I said, first of all, I believe one has to get the attention of a viewer or a reader, whether it's positive or negative. I always try to eventually turn a negative into a positive. Second, the viewer should be able to understand the communication. I don't think you understand that, but you understand it in a negative way, but we turned it into a positive. Third, the image should be burned into the mind of the reader so that it will not be forgotten. And finally, I try to design everything to make it look good, you know, aesthetically pleasing. I don't care what it is. Sometimes I'm my worst enemy because I spend so much time noodling type and playing with design, and I lose money, but I don't care. I just want to do good work, and I want it to be, I satisfy myself and not somebody else. And I can do that now because I'm retired, and I can do posters and whatever I want. I just completed 3 posters for encouraging people to vote. I didn't use AIGA because I'm retired and I'm no longer a member. The second poster, the for sale poster, the photo was shot by Jared Traficanda. We said things like a natural rhythm for color and design will steal art shows if set free. And our tagline was property of Boston and Boston, equal opportunity designers. And we used that theme. I even was wearing a Uncle Sam suit saying, Uncle Tom wants you. Yes, sir, you, Captain, whenever, and we use a sort of a cryptic language. And then at the end we said, you know, come and work with us, Boston and Boston equal opportunity designers. These are our most important and most popular posters 50 years later. This was done when I was 23 and my brother Brad was 25. After I left advertising and went into academia, I sort of started up Archie Boston Graphic Design. And the first poster I did for myself was, I don't want to marry your daughter. I was trying to tell a client that you don't have to worry about me. You know, all I want to do is work with you. And all that other stuff, forget it, because if you look closely at the photo, I'm already married. And this one, I really love the typeface. I forget the type at this age. I was going to look it up, but I didn't have time. But I thought it was kind of fun. And also, it's a statement that I took from our poster, A Natural Rhythm for Color and Design. around 1999, the turn of the century, I really thought about, going from one era to another to 2000. So I designed this poster, which says, "We've come too far to turn around." It started in 1860 with slaves, which is the same typeface, and then we moved to the 1900s and then up to 2000. And I try to update the typography as I move forward. This one, my father hated. I got a lot of flack from that, using the N word. But the idea was, to grab the attention and then to say something positive. My statements always ended positive, like, "I got your attention, now I want to tell you what I'm about, and I want you to give me some work." And a lot of art directors put those posters on their wall, and as people were walking through the agency, they would look and say, "What is that?" And this is what the art directors wanted to do, because it was kind of like in your face. And most of them worked in their own office, so they could put up on the wall anything they could. So what we wanted to do was try to get our work on their wall. When I became president of the Art Directors Club in 1976, I served 2 terms, one term in 1976, the other term in 1982. In 1976, we had a Christmas party, so I thought you should have one at every Christmas party, and that's a Black Santa. And then there was a members only meeting, and I thought I'd insult some people by saying, "No weirdos, freak, jive dudes, turkeys, or jerks are invited to the May 19th meeting. It's for members only." When we adopted our son and daughter, Jennifer and Michael, we adopted Michael in 1974, and we adopted Jennifer in 1976. And I was working as an art director, so I decided to use as my adoption announcement an ad. So I created the ad, and I think one of ArtCenter's students took the photos for me. I think his last name was Chambers, and I used that, and I told the story about the adoption process. It was also a protest because I was upset because they wanted to charge me a fee. But then I started thinking, they're charging me a fee, but I'm gonna pay over $200,000 or $300,000 raising these kids. So, they should give the kids to me for free, but that didn't go over too well. Now, my website was up for between 10 and 15 years, and these are the products that I sold. Some of the designers who were featured on my DVDs when I was on sabbatical in 1986. I shot these guys and I made DVDs, but I gave the film to the university, but in 92, we could transfer it to the computer, so it was cheaper to do. So I transferred all of these and I sold them online. And this is my website, and these are the packaging. And I also sold posters. Now, when I sold those posters, I didn't keep the money. What I did is I set up a scholarship fund at the university for Archie Boston graphic design. And every year, the top portfolio would get a $1,000 scholarship. So this fund was around even after I left, and about maybe 5 years ago, they said that the fund was depleted. So I didn't renew it. The list of clients that I worked with, and also my customers who bought the DVDs. Graphic Design USA on 2003 did an image of famous faces. So this is not the cover, but I used that just to tell you that this was in Graphic Design USA, and it was their 40th anniversary. And featured in there was famous faces. There was Saul Bass, there's Paula Shear, and you see all of those people. And then on the third row, there's a guy in the corner, which is me. And I was thinking, gee whiz, they included me with all these famous people. I didn't know that I had that kind of esteem, but I guess Sean was right when he was saying that you guys look to me for a lot of stuff. But I thought about this and I thought, well, why should I'm just looking at my notes. I thought about this and I thought, well, you know, I haven't received an AIGA Lifetime Achievement Award yet. I became a fellow and I've been a fellow for many years. And then I decided, yes, I have. I received an award. You know, my award was being featured with these people, you know, in 2003. My award is teaching 33 years at Cal State Long Beach, you know, with fantastic students. And my third award is just having the opportunity to present to you guys, you know, at this old age. My social conscious posters, I really get upset when things happen in the community. I think August 12, 2017, there was a killing. I think it was in Charlotte. I did a poster, and then the crazy stuff that has been going on. You know, I thought the upside down flag is a sign of distress, so I'm going to send out a distress message. And there was another poster I did based on Langston Hughes. He wrote a poem, and I sort of paraphrased it and wrote my own and used that. I'm not going to read it to you because I'm limited for time, but I thought these three symbols were symptomatic of where things were and the problem that were going on. So I went from there to the Beatles song, All We Need Is Love. And I thought, well, if I can make a transition from the hate to love, then that will be a visual communication that everybody will understand. With AIGA, I also designed a poster. I said, left or right, just pick up your step and vote. If you've been in the military, you know that that is a song, you know. And also in reality, there's the analogy of the left and the right, which is from a political point of view. So I thought this might be a nice idea, and it's a type idea. And I thought I'd use the type that is used a lot in the military, which is stencil. My Christmas cards, I have been controversial. Some things people don't but you know, I'm the kind of person, so what? For Christ's sake, Merry Christmas. That was one of the cards that was kind of controversial. The last one, this one I did a few years ago because I was kind of upset about the homeless people. And I'm going to read this. I say, joy to the meek, the sick, the poor, the abused, the shut-in, the bullies, the disabled, the homeless, the mentally ill, immigrants, LGBTQ, and you. Happy holidays, Juanita and Archie. You know, this sort of represent my feeling as a person. Well, this is another one that went to the other spectrum. I do things that are kind of off the wall to shake up people. And that one really shook up a lot of people and students. The documentary that I worked on featured all of the people that were in around the star. And this documentary was 50 minutes, and you can access it online under Black Pioneers of the Sunshine City. And it's about 55 minutes, but we enjoyed doing that. And we used our own money because we had a difficult time down there trying to get people to help us. Now, my advice to students. I've taught for many years, and I really enjoy being around students. I taught at ArtCenter in 1977, and I also taught the summer of 1992. ArtCenter is the #1 school in Southern California. Now, my students at CSULB is #2. And the reason why it's #2 is because I retired 10 years ago. But don't get upset. I do things like this. My advice to students is to be kind, be creative, be honest, but most of all, be yourself. Since I retired, my students always play games with my logos. It really upsets me, but I have to let it go. Some of my students thought that I became too religious after I retired because I meditated in the morning and I read the Bible and talked about it. So one student sent me my logo and said, I got a new logo for you, Archie. I'm going to call you the Church of Archie Boston Graphic Design. So I adopted that logo. And that moved me into my feeling of design spirituality. Over the past few years, in reflection, I started to think about design and what it meant to me, and how we, just like this, the state and we separate church and state. And then I thought, well, it's just like in design. Design seemed to be separated like church and state, but it has never been that way for me. You know, I always thought that design was my spirituality, and I believe in God, but the Spirit of God is in my design. And well, it might be the devil too, but I feel it's in most of my design. So my design spirituality is expressed in this statement. My idol and brother, I'll read it to you. My idol and brother, Brad, said at my 70th birthday celebration that when we were growing up, he thought that I would never amount to much because I was so mischievous. Remember the little Call It Rascals in the Sunshine City? He was right. I really didn't amount to much. I amounted to much more than much. Much more meant working hard to strive for design excellence. If you love design, you should work hard to find the best solution to a problem. Listen, students, you should do the proper research and learn as much about the product as you can. You should have fun doing it, and you must also sell your work. However, over the years, I realized that that was my brother's perception of me. It didn't define me. I have always listened to my intuition. My intuition is my design spirituality. What about your intuition? Do you listen to your instinct? Don't ignore your gut feeling. It is intangible, but if you close your eyes and listen, it can speak to you. It might say, I will help you, lead you, and protect you. Trust me. I believe that inner voice is your design spirituality. Embrace it. Remember, a person who doesn't amount to much in this world is great in God's sight. If you want to read more about my design spirituality, you can go to this site at Duke, where my work is housed. And next spring, it will be housed, more will be housed at a Black exhibit at Stanford University. Now, finally, to my Black Lives Matter. I try to go as fast as I can so that I can end with these posters and answer questions you might have. In 2015, when Trayvon Martin, around that time, passed away, I really became upset, and then the Black Lives Matter movement evolved, and I really got more upset, and then I just decided I gotta do some posters, I gotta talk about it. And the 10 posters that I have done are my reflection on what I thought it should be. These posters are not just designed for Blacks. These are designed for everybody, for, you know, the police, for the church congregation, for men, women, Black or white. These posters should be something that you should remember, because I think it's very important. The first one, the models in here were from my family, so nobody can sue me, I don't think. And if they did, it's okay. I thought if Black Lives Matter, somebody said you should have ... I said, I know that. I know English, but I want to do it this way. So I did it my way. I said, if Black Lives Matter, pay your child support, you know, and I know many people who aren't paying child support. If Black Lives Matter, stop killing our youngins. These people shooting in the street, and kids are innocently killed because of craziness. If Black Lives Matter, support a traditional Black college. That's very important. You know, my son went to a traditional Black college. He didn't finish, but he went, you know, and he went to several colleges, but he never finished. But he's still a good person, and he's still doing his music, and he still is very respectful to me and also to his family and his children. If Black Lives Matter, don't shoot first and lie about it later. I'm talking to the police, and this should be a strong message, especially in this time. If Black Lives Matter, snitch on gang violence and police brutality. Some people don't want to snitch on anybody. I say you have a duty to, and if you want to call it snitch, go ahead, but I call it telling the truth. If Black Lives Matter, use your tongue, not a knife or a gun. And that is very important, because the most powerful weapon you have is your tongue. And your tongue can create good, and it can also create bad. So try to use your tongue to create good. If Black Lives Matter, stop gang banging and fight for social justice. Black Lives Matter is a fight for social justice. Get in a peaceful demonstration and show that we can do good things without robbing and looting. If Black Lives Matter, stop treating us like terrorists. This is my son. He looks like a terrorist when he's wearing his hoodie, but he's a good person and he cares. He's a caring person. He's a happy person and he admires me. If Black Lives Matter, love your neighbor as much as you love yourself. My granddaughter stays on her cell phone, and I keep telling her, put it down, focus on some other things, but just don't overuse it. If Black Lives Matter, stop abusing our lovely women. That's violence, and I've always been a nonviolent person. I've been married for 53 years and I've never raised my hand to my wife. I can't say not raising my voice, but I try. If Black Lives Matter, worship God, not drugs or money. So I really end on my spirituality, and I started with my spirituality, and I believe in my spirituality, and I hope that you will too. I think this takes care. Be safe and wear a mask. And I think this concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Archie.
You're welcome.
Really wonderful.
It was such great work to see. And I mean, when you see it as a body of work, it's so incredibly impactful. It's
thank you.
It's
thank
so
you.
strong.
Thank you.
And we know it's difficult to show everything over the course of your career and personal. Sean, I think we can, there's some really interesting questions. I have one question from a student. First of all, Petrula says hi. She's here watching.
Okay,
she
hello,
wants
Petrula.
to let you know. A little shout out to Petrula. And I also, we had mentioned before, and I'll ask you this question when we were talking before we started, you explained how the design community really embraced you and your brother starting the first, African-American agency. But then you said something to me, which you haven't explained, but you said the clients were a little surprised.
Well, because the clients weren't used to working with Blacks, but there were a few clients, and the clients that, the liberal clients would say, oh, I'll put you on the top of my freelance list, but I never got any work. The clients that really gave us the work were the clients who were very conservative in Newport Beach. They were the ones, they weren't talking, they were giving. LPAC Electronic, Dana Laboratories. Those people fed us work, and kept us busy. But, the liberal places like some of the ad agencies, they said, oh, your work is great. It looks good, but you're too good for us. And my attitude was, oh, I might be too good, but I need to pay the bills. So, why am I not getting work from you? But anyway, that worked out first. But I really did do work for agencies like Chiat Day, which were very progressive. My best friend, Nick Mendoza, was an art director there. And also worked with Haya Blanca, who was the creative director. I knew people all over. Don Weller, Don Kapp was the art director at Hickston Jorgensen who hired me, Lynn Pilley, but there were a lot of people, that I owe a lot to. Juan Casada, who also was my senior art director and who gave me a lot of work. John
Yeah,
Maiucci at Carson Roberts, and
yeah,
Mickey Osaki, you know,
oh,
people that were
right.
very nice.
It's a great acknowledgement to them. And this is a message for everyone who hasn't read the Q&A. And Christian, thank you very much for the information. Someone asked about the videos that you did of, you know, the designers, and we have to let everyone know here, students, that our library has all of your videos.
They are there, right? Yeah. Yeah.
So
ArtCenter was the first school that purchased the complete set, and it is in the library, and you can see the whole set.
Right, you're able to see it. I don't know, you can check with the library to see if maybe they have a post online. So I have a question from Ibrahim, and he says to me, Archie, please do not change my question. It's a student here. And it says, what is your approach towards creating imagery or messaging that burns itself into the minds of the readers?
Well, the first thing I do is I think, well, what will get somebody's attention? Will I say something nice? Maybe if I insult you, I can get your attention. And then after I insult you, I can say nice things, you know, and a lot of my work works that way. You know, it's an insult, and then I say, well, you know, I just said that to get your attention. And a lot of that is happening today. You know, you see in public relations where a lot of these companies are putting out negative statements and then backtracking. But what happened is their ratings go up, and then they come back and then say, oh, I didn't mean that. But I did stuff like that years ago, even before it was popular, because that was a way to get attention.
It is difficult. And I know today it's very difficult, especially where we're so careful about being politically correct. Another shout out from Ty Drake.
Okay,
he says, hi.
Ty.
He's one of our faculty members. He says, love you, Archie, and your brother brother Brad.
Nice.
I think it's really interesting where you look at imagery. And I have to say, you know, we posted one of your Black Lives Matter imagery. I think we posted some of this on our Twitter and Instagram to promote who you are, you know, and to promote your talk. And we actually got some pushback, Sean.
Oh yeah.
Someone said, oh, it was racist. And I think Clifford, thank you, he answered very well. And he said, well, we invite you to the lecture so you can understand the context of the messaging that was shown. And I think today someone says, you know, Michael Neal says, you know, design is so often so white and so commercial. Where or how do you think designers can look for inspiration outside of that narrative? And he says, hi. He says, you taught me.
He's one of my former students, yes.
Yeah. So where do you look for? And I think other people Silas says, what inspiration or words of wisdom, you know, and I think this ties into that when you have for Black students and Black design faculty. So I think the twofold question is, where do you find inspiration that's out of what we call the white and so commercial narrative? And I think that follows with, and what inspiration then do you discover for Black students and Black faculty?
Yeah, well, this message is for Michael Neal. I discover, and I get my inspiration from reading the Bible. You know, I read the Bible every day, you know, and there are stories in the Bible that inspire me. And then there are stories in the Bible that make me wonder, what is this all about? Why is there so much violence? Why are people conquering others and killing them in the name of God, you know? And I question a lot of things, but, you know, that's part of my inspiration. I read every day. Sometimes I see things on television and they click. And other times I see things when I'm driving around and I say, oh, that's kind of cool. You know, look at that typeface. I'm talking this stuff to my wife and she's looking at me like, what is wrong with him? You know, because I see everything from a perspective of a designer. You know, I look at design, I look at it from a perspective of communication. You know, how do I communicate to people? How do I communicate today? The way I communicated yesterday, 20 years ago is different from the way I communicate today, because some of the stuff that I communicate today, I know I'm going to get a lot of pushback on Facebook and LinkedIn and all of these other social medias. So I really don't use them that much. I go to direct mail.
And Sean, I'm sorry, I'm not overpowering the discussion. There's just a lot of questions for Archie, and I'm like, and I think some other questions, I think the two of them tie in together. So, you know, we're in a very strange environment where where perhaps our audience is more receptive and less offended by your pieces today, or was it less offensive and more receptive a while ago? And then to move into something else, I think you can answer that question, but then also say, this comes from one of our professors who feels that there's been a knee-jerk reaction to diversity in design schools. And he wants to know, how do you think diversity, or the attention to diversity, has changed the design discourse? Do you feel it has?
I don't know if it has. To me, it's very similar to it was back when I was trying to get into the profession. But recently, you know, since Black Lives Matter, a lot of companies have been reaching out to minorities. And I have been sending students to different firms because people have contacted me about, do you know of anybody who might need to be, to lead a job? And I might say, oh, sure, I do. But their work might not be as great as you expect, but if you take them under your wing and help train them to the level of sophistication as you're thinking, then it will work out okay. And a lot of them will take a chance, but some will say, well, I need somebody who can start running on day one, and that's it. But, you know, internship programs help too. And I believe that internship is very important, and a lot of companies should really try to open their doors to a paid internship and not a free internship. All the times that I taught over the 33 years, every internship that I sent my student to got paid, you know, because I set it up before they were interns, and I asked them, can you at least give them a little something other than the experience to help? Because if they do an ad or whatever, it's making you money. So why not share this money? And plus, even if you pay them, you can write it off. So what is there to lose? And most of them cooperated, you know. But most of the people that I sent internship to knew me. So they knew that I was going to send them the right mix of student to work, you know, in their environment.
You know,
Does that answer the question?
I had a question about starting out, like when you started out Boston, and, you know, going back to the Pentel ads. I mean, you put yourself in a Pentel ad, which back then was like, no, no way. You should not, you're the creator, you're supposed to disappear. But then all of your work from the beginning always took a point of view and took a real strong stance. And as you know, there's such a push in design, I think, especially for young designers, to just do the safe thing, do the right thing. Don't put yourself in, you don't belong in your own work. How did you get that courage to say, I have something to say and I'm going to say it?
Well, I just thought, I believed in myself. I just thought, you know, what is the worst that can happen to me? I can get fired from a job, but, you know, I mean, and plus being in academia, I can do any poster I want, you know, and that's one reason why I decided to move into academia, because of academic freedom. In the profession, you can't offend your clients, and you have to kind of play the game with them. And you have to educate them too, because sometimes they might be afraid of something, but sometimes that fear might be the direction that you might pursue, because that fear might just be you and not necessarily the product that you're selling. So you have to, you kind of weigh each situation one at a time.
One last question or comment, Sean, before we thank Archie for all of this. I think everyone, you know, Archie, it's so interesting when someone asked about diversity in education today. I think you're just a great representation of, you handle diversity by giving the opportunity to everyone.
Well,
to
thank you.
lead.
Well, when I left,
to lead.
yeah, well, when I left Cal State Long Beach, I hired 2 African-American art director, a male, a female, and I hired, I think, a Hispanic designer. So I really talked the talk and I walked the walk, and I made my contribution, and now I'm sitting back retired and having fun.
Right. But think about all the people those people inspired and rippled out that effect upon. I mean, it's sort of, it just keeps going.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, and I want to thank you for being here today and sharing this with our students, to say, you know, so it's important for our students to have role models and mentors, and just young designers too, to say that, you know, if you look, there are people who will inspire. And will, you know, and show, and again, showing no fear. Being a designer means a great deal of design is intuitive. I love your lessons to students. And Sean will say too, we're intuitive. Designers should have no fear. It's why we're designers. And I think you also, it's just design, but also you said something that's very important. We are good designers because we love what we do.
Absolutely.
We are so lucky that we must, in order to be a great designer and a great educator, you must love it.
Absolutely.
If you don't, you might as well go. I hate to say if there's any accountants in the audience, you might as well become an accountant.
Yeah.
I apologize for that. But anyway, on that note, I want to thank you, Archie. I want to thank you,
you're welcome.
Sean. It's been great.
Thank you, Archie.
I know students have to get to class.
Archie, I want you to know I have made it my mission to get you that medal. I work on it monthly.
Either whether I get it or not, I'm fine. You know, I'm fine being a fellow, a jolly good fellow.
I thank everyone again, Sean and Archie.
Thank you, Gloria.
It's always a pleasure to be with you both.
It was fun. And you guys be well and safe. Okay.
Yeah, you too.
We will.
Okay.
Thank
Goodbye.
you, Archie. Bye.
Bye.